Welcome to the One Verse Devotional Podcast. My name is Matt McCarrick, and my goal is to help you grow closer to God through one verse every day. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to another edition of the One Verse Devotional Podcast. My name is Matt McCarrick, and as always, I'm excited that you're with me here today. Posting a little bit late today because I've been a little bit under the weather. Already been to the doctor this morning, but everything's all good, and I am here now and looking forward to diving into today's one verse. And I got to tell you, it is a good one. It's out of Romans chapter 12, and I want to kind of give you some background to this verse. First of all, it starts off the chapter talking about how we are a living sacrifice, that we are called to give our lives to God and His gospel and His message and His mission on this earth and growing the kingdom of heaven. And it moves on to how we do that. And some of that is by being a servant to others, by putting others first, by caring for others. And that's the whole first part of Romans chapter 12. Well, then we get into our one verse for today. It's Romans chapter 12, verse 12. And right in the middle of this passage, it says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer." I find this is such an interesting verse that God, through the Apostle Paul, would put right in the middle of this passage, because he's talking about how we need to love others and honor others. And then he moves on after our verse and talks about caring for those in need and practicing hospitality. And it's all about other people. But then right in the middle of this passage, he has these three amazing phrases out of our one verse for today. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. I read this and I take it as like God acknowledging or understanding that, hey, this is going to be difficult. A living sacrifice, sacrifices never lived, right? They were sacrificed. They were put on an altar and put to death. So a living sacrifice is not going to be an easy life. Putting others first is not an easy life. Loving others, being hospitable, caring for others is not always easy. And it's like God is saying, hey, I understand that I'm calling you to some pretty tough things. I understand that this life can get pretty difficult. However, I want you to know this, that you can be joyful in hope, that you can be patient in affliction. And then I want you to be faithful in prayer. You can get through this, God is saying. There is hope, and you can take joy in that. Yes, there's going to be days of affliction. There's going to be days of heartache and hardship. But be patient, because I am there with you, God says. I will walk this journey with you. I will hold your hand and support you every step of the way. And so he finishes this one verse by saying, and be faithful in prayer. Stay connected to me. I understand that sometimes it's so easy when life gets rough. I've dealt with this. Honestly, the end of 2016 was kind of a rough year for us. And yet I had to focus. And it wasn't always easy. And sometimes I failed, but I kept coming back and saying, I got to spend time with God. I got to spend time with God. One thing was this podcast. Help me stay on track, because I'm like, hey, people are waiting for this. I need to dive into God's word so I can share it with others. And that was just, honestly, I want to say thank you to you. See, you think, oh, I'm just listening and He's here for us. And that's so true. I want to help you grow closer to God every step of the way through just these little baby steps of a one verse every day. However, you bless me as well. You keep me accountable because you keep showing up, and it's not about the numbers. For me, it's about the fact that it's like, hey, Matt, you got to keep growing. You got to stay in prayer. You got to stay in God's word so you can help to lead others and guide them deeper into this faith walk, because I'm right there with you. I don't have it all figured out. I say that all the time. We're in this together. But showing up and doing this podcast helps to keep me accountable. And so I understand that sometimes it's going to get difficult. And when life gets rough, it's actually easier for us to want to step back and say, you know what? I don't have time for prayer. I don't have time for my Bible study. I don't have time even to listen to a podcast, whatever it is. But I want to challenge you and say, no. I think it was Martin Luther who once said, and this is a paraphrase, but he said, the busier my day is, the more I realize that I need to spend that much more time with God so I can get through it. And that's totally counterintuitive to what we think. But we need to be faithful in prayer. Draw closer to God, because he has that supernatural hope for our lives, that when the affliction comes, that we can be patient if we stay faithful in prayer, and that we can be joyful in this hope that God will bring to our lives. Have a great day.